Greetings people, it's Jared here, Wolfgang1, back to do another Transformers review. So, this one hasn't been requested by anyone in particular. I just fancied doing this because he's been sitting on my shelf for years and I've never really, thought two fucks about him, quite frankly. But I thought, you know what, I'll sit down and I will try and look at him the same way as I look at all the other things in my collection. So, without further ado, this is the review for Generation 1 Bombshell. Okay, so here's Bombshell in his alt mode. His alt mode is apparently, according to the Transformers Identification and Price Guide by Mark Bellomo. Yes, I still have that book, and the updated version he did a couple of years later. According to that, Bombshell is a rhinoceros beetle. Make of that what you will. I've never seen a rhinoceros beetle in real life. So I'm going to give him a bit of a twist. This is Bombshell in his dung beetle mode. I quite like the idea of him being a dung beetle, but obviously this whole thing gives that less credit than it deserves. So this is Bombshell, and I picked Bombshell up. I think he was a TFN purchase, and I think I got him for about £10 or £15. He wasn't complete. I managed to get his gun on eBay for like, I don't know, £3 or something like that. So in that sense, he is 100% complete. Bombshell was a 1985 Decepticon, along with Kickback and Shrapnel, although he did appear in the 1984 cartoon, Plague of Insecticons, and Insecticons at a picnic and like sort of shit like that. And he's quite an interesting character because he Bombshell is able to fire something called cerebral shells into people's heads, and once that cerebral shell takes hold in the central nervous system or the microprocessor or whatever it is he's fired it into, that person becomes instantly under his control. So that was always quite an interesting thing that Bombshell could do. I don't know how often he did it in the cartoon. He did it a few times in the comics. And that as sort of special powers or special abilities go, that's fucking up there, really, isn't it? Quite frankly, the toy was, I guess, at the time the equivalent of a Minibot, in the sense that it would have been a lower price point Transformer, sort of like down the lower scale of price points, because it is more basic than, say, the Decepticon jets or anything else. And he's seen better days, I guess. I mean, there's let's bring this in so you can actually see it. There's a bit of chrome wear on the whatever this is, on his protrusion. Let's call it that. There's a bit of chrome wear on his protrusion, because obviously it's old at this stage. On the underside, where you can see where his thighs would be, there's chrome wear on there as well. There's a tiny little bit of paint chipping. I think, yeah, his chest is die cast, which is cool. But Bombshell was he the Diaclone line or Microman or something like that? Has an open up compartment just here that a little driver can sit in. Obviously they didn't come with little drivers because they're supposed to be like sort of sentient robots. But that's a feature that wasn't removed when the molds were like sort of ported over and rebranded. So it's nice that he's got an open up little compartment section, but it ultimately serves no purpose in the world of the Transformers. He's got a nice little rub sign. So yeah, 1985 Decepticon. You can just see that it's showing through the Decepticon there. The stickers on it are all original. I haven't repro labeled it. Maybe I will at some stage, but to do that, I'd give it a full restoration. Like try and paint in some of the chrome that's defaded. And I don't know whether I would have to paint over the chrome already there, or I would have to sand the whole thing down. I don't know. The whole thing, now thinking about it, sounds like more aggro than it's worth. So he came with a little gun. The gun's also showing quite a few signs of being as old as it is. So all sculpted in yellow plastic and then sprayed painted chrome afterwards. So that doesn't go anywhere in the alt mode, I've noticed. So he doesn't have one of those shitty attack modes that seem to be so popular. Yeah, he's rhinoceros beetle mode, or I'm going with dung beetle because it amuses me at least. There's not really a hell of a lot to say about him. Focus, thank you. There's not really a hell of a lot to say about him in this mode. I mean, his transformation is very, very simple, but he's quite compact. which is nice. Yeah, not really a massive amount to say about him. One of those few Decepticons that hasn't really received that many updates that I can think of. There was the what was it? The Combiner Wars version of Bombshell, which I bought, which maybe I'll do a review on at some point, and was basically just an updated version of this, a slightly more snazzy, more streamlined version of this. But for me, didn't really add too much to the already existing character design or anything like that. It was a nice little thing about, I've got a Combiner Wars Bombshell, but that's about as far as my affiliation for that thing goes. And there's a little bit of paint wear, as I said, just here. This joint here is quite loose, so there's a little bit of paint chipping there, a little bit of paint chipping just there, and just a little bit around the arch just there. I think maybe, yeah, on both sides, and just on the underside just there. Obviously showing its age. Now, I do believe the Insecticons were knocked off at some stage, but thankfully this isn't one of them. So I'm just going to have a drink of my vodka and Coke. Lovely. Yeah, and I guess we'll take it to robot mode. I mean, he's fine for what he is. One thing I will say in the G1 cartoon, the Insecticons were always good at they always had loads of clones of themselves and sort of things like that. So there's always be like hundreds of thousands, like sort of troop builders. And I know that people tend to troop build Scourge for like the sweeps and sort of things like that, which makes it very difficult for anybody else to fucking get a sweep or a Scourge. But whatever, because people always troop build them and Sharkticons, come to think of it. But I've never seen too many examples of people troop building the Insecticons for their clones. So double standards there. Who knows? So let's take him to let's take him to robot then. So we're going to start off with folding out this back section just here, and just fold those out to the sides, out to the end, just like that. There we are. As I said, the transformation of this is going to be basic as fuck. And then these two sections on either side, spin those round on the hinge just there. That comes out to the side, and then finally flip up this little panel just here, and bring the protrusion back like that. And that is Bombshell in his little robot mode. Let's see if I can scale that back a little bit. There we go. Yeah, so there's Bombshell in his little robot mode. He's I actually quite like him. He's got far more character in this mode than he does in his Rhinoceros Beetle mode. It's just a shame, like sort of these old figures like this, where they did like sort of have paint on the face, where you can see they don't make any they do nothing to accentuate the eyes or anything like that. So the eyes and the mouth plate and the nose, they're all painted in silver. Whereas it would be nice to have just a little bit of detail there on the eyes. If I ever get hold of any more Seeker stickers, maybe I'll give him a set of eyes from a Seeker or something like that, just so they stand out. It's got a nice little bit of paint, on the crest on his head just there, but his animation model always had the protrusion facing forward, like that. Focus, you fucker. There we are. Always had the protrusion facing forward, but on this one it looks like shit, so it has to sit at the back there. You can either have it like that, or I guess you could have it down like that. So yeah, having it up like that makes him look like he's got more kibble than he actually needs. But it is designed to move, but you can have it down at the back there, so he's got a much tidier robot mode. And it doesn't really detract if you take it all the way down. So I give him his little gun in his hand. And there we are. There he is. In terms of articulation, his arms will do a full 360. And the legs sort of move in on that joint, but that's for transformation. Downsides of the robot mode, I would say, is because of the way the legs fold out, you've got these horrible, unsightly gaps right at the front. Let me get some light on this motherfucker. You've got some unsightly gaps right here at the front, where he should have, I don't know, shins. And that kind of, it would be nice if there was some way of like sort of, because you don't really see these things from the back. You don't really give a toss about the back, but it would be nice if it maybe it folded out like that, and then this panel here flipped round and then locked into place just here to hide that. So if this was at the back, you wouldn't care less. But if this panel at the back could just fold round and just go around like that and hide that unsightliness. And the other thing is as well, what an unimaginably shit place to put stickers, right? Especially if you're going to be folding these up and locking them in like that. Those stickers are going to rub, they're going to peel, they're going to do all sorts of weird and wonderful shit. And that's why stickers end up looking like this. I mean, do you remember the arms of my Generation 1 Prime? Where those stickers are situated, every time it rubs against the plastic and the metal and that, they're just peeling and scraping and doing all sorts of shit. And yeah, as I said, his little chest opens up as well for a little Diaclone driver that, you know, obviously these things didn't have. But it's nice in that sense. So when I was like a kid and I had like sort of kickback, if in my games, if he got damaged, then he'd be lying down. He'd have his chest open so they could do repairs. I actually had Bombshell as well. I got Bombshell originally from a car boot sale with no weapon, and his protrusion was snapped round about here-ish. So he didn't have a full protrusion, but you know that didn't stop him in my games. He was still fully functional, just shall we say circumcised. But that is focus. That's Generation 1 Bombshell in, you know, all his glory, shall we say. I mean, he's harmless. He fills out a nice little spot on my shelf. He's there to bolster the numbers. He's not a standout figure. He's, you know, I think his characterization in the comics and what they did with him in the cartoons and the comics and things like that probably gave him more weight and gravitas than perhaps he warranted. But, you know, as a little toy, as a little shelf, you know, or troop filler on my shelf, and like sort of shelf filler, he does what he has to do. He does the business, you know. I've got no qualms with this at all, other than this god awful shit just here that they could have, you know, maybe done something with. But then again, I mean, I'm looking at this like sort of 35 years down the line saying, oh, if this panel flipped round and hit this thing in the legs, you know, we're barely lucky that 35 years ago, toy engineering was able to make this joint do that in the first place, really. So I'm basically bitching and quibbling over nothing. But then again, that's always been, I think, my number one selling point more than anything else. So yeah, I like him for what he is. He's nothing special, but he's far from being a steaming pile of cack. And actually, considering his age, he's actually faring okay. He's faring a lot better than Shrapnel is to a degree, because Shrapnel's got issues in his legs. But I will come on to Shrapnel another time, ladies and gentlemen. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching this review. This is Gerald Gavin Barry, also known as Wolfgang1, saying I'll be back at some point in the future with more Transformers reviews, more 7 Days to Die, more other shit that's going to be filling up my channel as the weeks go on. If for those of you who haven't or forgot from last week, I have started a Patreon channel, so a Patreon account. So if you want to go over and donate to my Patreon, there we are. Feel free to do so. You'll get your name in the credits on my videos, and there'll be other things available to you the higher up the tiers you go. I'm still trying to work out selling myself on that. It feels a bit unnatural and weird, to be honest. But just head over to the Patreon. The link's in my description thing. Head over to the Patreon and see for yourself if it's something you can even be bothered to get involved with. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching this. This is me, Wolfgang1, saying take care, and I shall see you soon.